Hey, it's Mike with Guitar World, and we are here at NAMM 2024 with John Petrucci of Dream Theater, who is here to show us some of his new Majesty models for 2024. John, what are the big changes this year?
Well, it's all about finishes. All about finishes. So the Majesty is celebrating its 10th anniversary.
Wow.
Which is crazy. So we're really excited about that. And the design has been just so incredible in every way. We have not touched it because it is complete perfection. But what we do is we kind of mess with the finishes and try to think of really cool, innovative ways to play with color and play with finishes and things like that. So we have what are probably my favorite so far.
Wow.
And we have done some incredible colors, so that's a huge statement. I actually, we designed these, we talked about these, I've seen pictures. It was only maybe an hour ago I saw these in person, and I'm losing my mind as we speak. So I'll start with this one. We have 3 this year that are full maple top versions. 2 of them which are burl tops, which we haven't really done on the Majesty, right? So this is one of them. And the idea, this took years to do. The idea was to do a Northern Lights guitar and to really try to make it look like it had movement, it had depth. And so it was really hard to do, but the
results speak for themselves.
The brilliant artisans at Ernie Ball Music Man made it happen. So this is called Arctic Aurora.
Beautiful.
Yes, and it you can see on all sides just how gorgeous it is.
Wow, and you've got the kind of purple shades as well.
Yeah, and the strip down the neck. Yeah.
And you've got the kind of like matte black finish as well.
Yeah, on the hardware, which I love.
Do you find like colors are quite inspiring to you as a guitar player and a musician? Do you take inspiration from different colors? Would you play differently on a different colored guitar?
The colors are inspiring. I wouldn't say that I consciously pick up a guitar to try to write in a certain mood, which might be fun actually. But I find that the more interesting, rich colors are really just inspiring, because as you're playing, I tend to watch my right hand more than my left hand. So I'm always looking down here, right? So I think because of that, I'm constantly looking at the finish. As long as my beard's not in the way. Sometimes I have to go like that. But yeah, the color can definitely be really, really inspiring. You just see it sitting there and you want to grab it. You want to play.
Are there certain colors you gravitate towards more then?
I tend to play more the darker colors. I think that's maybe just because of the kind of music I play, or maybe I'm a dark person, I don't know. But this year we have some really cool ones that are in the brighter category as well, and those are fun. But yeah, live kind of I tend to sort of go for those guitars that are going to go with my aesthetic.
Yeah.
And I normally just wear black.
They're going to pop then.
Either pop or blend in, but I'm blown away every time we come up with new colors and I see them for the first time. And I just want to take all of them home on the plane.
That's really interesting. You say you sort of focus on, you look at your right hand more than your left hand. Like, how did that develop? Because most guitarists are normally looking at the fretboard.
I know. I don't know how it developed. A lot of the players that I was influenced by early on were heavy right-hand players, like Steve Morris and Al Di Meola and guys like that. So I think it's like I was always sort of wanted to make sure that I was picking properly, like I had the right angle and I was doing it the most efficient way. So I just got really used to looking at my right hand all the time. And I noticed that about myself. I'm like, I don't look at my left a lot. I look at it when I need to. But I mostly look at my right hand. I don't know. It's a weird thing.
Was there a big sort of picking discovery for you that sort of altered the course of your right hand?
One of the ones I remember, I was a young kid, so I went to Berklee College of Music.
Yep.
They had Steve Morris, who was my hero already, was doing a guitar clinic at Berklee at a nearby store, and I'll never forget the clinic that he did. And one of the things that he said, and I do it to this day, he was like, okay, so I mean he holds a pick differently than me, but I hold it between these strings. But what he said when he was playing is that he would create this sort of little cave here, and he would rest the palm of his hand on the bridge, and then his pinky on either the pickup or the guitar, and whatever strings he was playing would be in the middle of the cave.
Right.
So these two things were muting the other strings. And I was like, that's awesome. That's brilliant. So I picked that up back then. I was probably 18 years old. And I incorporated that. And now that's how I play.
So you're watching for that cave all the time.
Yeah. And it's funny. We were talking before about other guitar players. And there's so many different techniques and ways of playing. And I see a lot of guys playing like closed fists, and I'll try it for a while, and it's like I try to get comfortable with it, and I find my hand opening back up and doing this. But there's no like one way to do it. And so many players will prove that by just being incredibly fluid, on the instrument, playing all different ways. And now we got guys playing with their fingers.
Yeah,
what's going on? Who knew? So there's no one way, but I do remember that Steve Morse thing, and it's really a great kind of thing to do because it gives your hand a focal point where you kind of always know where you are, and also it does help with the muting. Yeah, so I do remember that. Yeah, I was about 18 years old.
So you're talking about sort of different picking techniques and things. What are the players that are kind of impressing you today? Who are latest discoveries?
Latest discoveries. Oh my God.
Are you scrolling through Instagram every day?
that how could you not, right?
Well, exactly. There's too much talent.
There's too many. A lot of the players that I've sort of came across. And really enjoy their stuff. They end up doing, and I end up inviting them to my guitar camps.
Of course.
Right? So we got Tosin, doing this amazing stuff, and Matteo is somebody who's like we're all kind of freaking out about, like, how is that guy doing that with his fingers? That's unbelievable. He hasn't done my camp, but we'll get him. Plenty has done my camp, and I love what he's doing. The Tim and Scott from Polyphia did my camp, and they were amazing. When you see somebody doing something that's unique, and then they're playing a musical style that makes you kind of also turn your head, and then eventually maybe you get to play with them or meet them or have them do a camp or do a tour or something like that. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, you can get lost in the Instagram scroll.
Oh, for sure.
You're like, okay, I think I got it all figured out. Wait. What's this 8-year-old kid doing? It can also be dangerous,
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to shut that down.
Yeah, exactly. You can start to feel a little negative about your own playing at some stage. Have you ever sort of looked into collaborating with any of them on record?
It would definitely be fun, and that's another thing about these camps that are fun. I not in the rock vein at all, but Yosho Stefan, the gypsy jazz player from Germany, is just somebody who's, I would love to do something with, and he's just such an incredible, gypsy jazz player, but incredible player. Funny guy. He did my camp. We hit it off right away. And, I relate to it so much. I'm playing electric. He's playing, gypsy style, but it's like the same concept of like, it's like, alternate picking shred on guitar, like just, right? It's just in a jazz style as opposed to playing in a prog-metal style. So immediately, there was a connection there, and I could see that blending very easily.
So we can expect like a Majesty jazz version or
Majesty jazz version. We'll work on it.
I mean, it's interesting though. Is there any way you'd like to take the Majesty? Obviously, you released the 8-string very recently.
Yes. Yeah.
Where would you go from there?
Right. Well, I mean, honestly, as far as the guitar design, we really did perfect it. I mean, we took years to get it to the point. This was before the guitar came out. This is the first time we did a neck through. So the previous models I had with our Involved Music Man were bolt-on guitars. So getting the neck through right, getting that carb right, getting the access to all the frets correctly, and all the ergonomic stuff that makes the guitar so easy to play. The neck carve, the fretboard radius, the smoothness of the bridge and all the saddles, the rubber around the knobs, where everything is, instant access to all these switches. You know, these 3 ways that are on angles because your hands at an angle.
Yeah, fluid motion.
And the way it feels against your body, there's nothing that I would change. You know, so much work went into that. So again, at this point, we're having so much fun with, okay, what could we do with finishes and look, and just when you think, oh, we made the best, now it's like, oh my God, 2024, we have now these even crazier.
2025 is going to be a tough year.
Oh my God, how do you top, you know? But it's fun, and it's fun to work with everybody there because it's like family to me, and everyone's so talented and so up for the challenge, and we have great conversations, you know, about colors, about guitars, about music, and it never gets boring. You know, it's always fun and exciting.
So what kind of differences did you notice when you switched to the neck through over the bolt-on, and what prompted that kind of switch?
Well, a little bit of the difference is the weight, and I'll notice that right away. You know, these guitars are a bit lighter, I guess, you know, because of the construction, and there's not that neck joint metal or whatever, but that's the first thing I'll notice is the bolt-ons have a little more weight to them. These are lighter. The access, I mean, the JP15 that we have is an absolutely beautiful, amazing guitar, and I love them and play them, of course, and it's been part of our line for years and years and years. I've probably been with Music Man 23 years or something like that. And that JP15 was the culmination of like starting with the very first one, 10 years later doing an anniversary version, making tweaks, you know, calling that the JP11, and then the JP13, and then eventually led up to the 15. So the 15 is a beautiful guitar. I think that a lot of it, from the Majesty to that guitar, there is no difference, because all the decisions I made over the years, as far as, you know, pickups, knobs, things like that, placement, fret height, they're the same on both guitars.
Yeah.
So the real difference, you know, besides the weight, it is probably just the contours. The Majesty is a really sleekly contoured guitar. When you put this on your lap, it just kind of like, it almost disappears. You know, you can just focus on your playing. When you're playing something like the 15, it is, again, it's a little heavier. It has like a longer sort of bottom heel here, and it kind of sits on your lap a little bit differently. It's a little more squared off, so, you know, it feels like a little more chunky on your lap. And yeah, depends on like the mood you're in, what you like, and but they're both just masterpieces. You know,
the Majesty is hugely popular as a model, right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
I heard a statistic that it was the second best-selling signature guitar beneath the Les Paul.
Yeah.
Were you surprised by that?
You know what? First of all, when we set out to make this guitar, Sterling Ball and I had these crazy conversations about, you know, I had this idea of calling it like the Stallion and all this. And there's a funny story. When it first came out, like some pictures were leaked of it. And everyone was like, oh, that's the ugliest thing I've ever seen. You know, it was like, it turned out that it was like the most successful instrument we have ever could imagine. And people have embraced it. And all across all the different styles of guitar playing, you know, I see people playing Majesties. It's not just for prog metal. You know, they're playing all jazz and blues and rock and everything. And it's like, it's interesting with innovation. When you do something that's never been done before, it hits people like, you know, oh, what is that? And then it's like, when you realize how special it is, it has really caught on, and we couldn't be more proud and happier. Yeah, it blows my mind. How successful it's been, how many people get to enjoy it, and that's so satisfying for me and for all of us, because it's like, you want to make something, you know, it's like music. You're making it for yourself, really, because you want to be true as an artist. But then when you see other people enjoying it as much as you do, it's like even more like, oh my God, I can't believe you like the same thing. You know, and they'll say all the time, I love that you did this. I love the way the controls are laid out. You know, I love that I can get any sound out of the instrument. It's pretty wild.
Nice. I mean, there's been some pretty big Dream Theater news recently with Mike Portnoy coming back into the fold.
Yes. Have
you started working on music together? Where's it kind of going? What can we expect?
Gotcha. Well, very soon. So we start the new album in less than 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, and we're looking forward to it. You know, it's really exciting to have him back in the band. We started the band together. Again, you know, I talked about being 18 at Berkeley. That's where we met, and we've been friends ever since. So, you know, having him back in the band is really special to all of us. I know he's really excited as well. We haven't written a note yet, but I'm sure when we get together, it's just going to be like old times. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to doing that and diving in.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah.
And is there any way you want to take your playing on the next record, or in general?
You know what? To me, making a new record is an opportunity to see, you know, to kind of say like, all right, what haven't I done before? You know, what can I do that's going to be interesting to me, that's going to sort of make me excited. And usually, you know, if you start out with that kind of goal, it'll happen. You'll come up with stuff. You won't, you know, you'll explore. And I try not to be satisfied right away and try to like just change things up. So I don't know the answer to that. We'll find out. But I think what's going to be fun is just all getting together in the studio and seeing where things go, and kind of reuniting with that sort of classic magic that started the band. And you know, it's exciting. And I think that's going to dictate where things go. But on the guitar, man, I don't know. I can't wait. I love it. I love being in the studio.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, you've obviously experimented a lot in the studio. What song took the most number of takes to sort of land?
What song did the most?
Yeah, I mean, what solo really sort of stretched you, or you just couldn't quite nail?
All of them. It's funny because some solos that I do on records are highly improvised.
Yeah.
And I'll kind of leave them like that. And it's sort of like the nature of the song. And some are like highly constructed where, all right, I want to make this guitar solo more of like a piece within the piece. And so, you know, those take some more thought and more sort of on the spot, like trying to come up with something cool that you've never done before, and then, okay, well, how am I going to execute this on the record? And they take more work. I'm trying to think of what comes to mind as we're speaking. You know, some of the stuff actually on my solo album was in that realm, where it was like, I remember doing Temple of Circadia, which is a 7-string song on terminal velocity, and some of the stuff in that solo was really wacky because I was trying to do something. I was doing the solo, and then there was like an arpeggio part that followed it where it kept changing the division of notes, you know, from playing 32nd notes to 16th note triplets to 16th notes, and kind of going back. So it's like a really weird thing. There's also a song called Gemini on that record, and you know, speaking of gypsy jazz and Yosho, I actually played a gypsy solo on that, and that was, you know, something I've never done before.
Yeah.
So that was kind of fun. And those moments when you're in the studio and you're like, okay, let's go, let's see what happens, are always usually end up yielding the most, you know, creative and cool moments, for sure.
And lastly, you've been a huge influence on, you know, the next wave of prog guitar players. How would you like to be remembered as a guitarist?
You know what? I think that the guitar is an instrument. People that play instruments and are inspired to play is something that's really important, because music is such a big part of our world and our lives, and it could be such an incredible path to go down if you're a creative person. But besides that, you know, I think it's all about the music. I think the music is the legacy. You know, when I think of my favorite bands, and some of them where, you know, maybe they're not together anymore, you know, or they're not playing anymore, or maybe a member had passed away or something, unfortunately, the music like just outlives that for years and years and years and years. So as fun as guitar playing is, and I'm humbled and honored to be an influence on anybody, I think the legacy is about the music that's created. So that's why I hold, you know, the music that I write and the music that Dream Theater writes together is just so special. You know, I think it's something that's when I was a young kid, always wanted to do. And I'd look up to my favorite bands, whether it was Rush or Iron Maiden, was like, I want to do that. You know, it's like I want to like be able to live by that. And so, you know, having been able to do that, it's like pretty cool. It's awesome.
It's very cool. Thanks so much for your time, John.
Thank you.
For more info on the New Majesty finishes and everything else going on at NAMM 2024, keep an eye on guitarworld.com. Thanks very much.
Awesome.